Sean here again with
Coach Matt.
Beautiful. We got another one of our client spotlights, and today we are very honored to be joined by Jessica Quinn. Jess, how you doing?
Doing great.
Perfect.
How are you guys?
Awesome. Well, I think, we've had the pleasure to kind of get to know you and work with you for, I think, just about 6 months now, which is awesome. And you came from the great coaching tree of the Mrs. Terry Persico, which has been fantastic, which is awesome. That whole story, I think, maybe we'll touch on that in a second, but that's like one of my favorite things to think about is the super nanny to the Jess coming back into lifting. But I think for those of you who don't know Jess, I think you've had a really unique and kind of cool relationship with lifting for a lot of your life, from college athletics to kind of getting in and out of it. And then really, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but over the last 6 months, just finding a really cool, consistent relationship with lifting itself. And I think that's the big thing I wanted to touch on, because I think you have a really cool story as it relates to the idea of kind of having different seasons of relationship with lifting and fitness, and then just kind of finding a new one in a really unique way that I know we've been able to experience, but not everybody else has. So with that being said, coming to Compass or before Compass, if you could talk a little bit about your lifting, just to fill people in on the Wikipedia of Jessica Quinn, would be fantastic.
Sure. No, actually, my first exposure to lifting wasn't actually lifting that I did myself, but I worked at a gym in, I guess it was high school, end of high school, even came back and did some summers when I was in college in Monrovia. And so I worked at the desk and I got to see everybody, watch everybody working out. And then when I went to college, I walked onto the track team. And then that was the first time it was like, team lifting together, a lot of focus on, because I was a pole vaulter. So it was a lot of like pole vaulting specific time in the, even like the gymnastics gym, doing stuff there. So, and then, but I would say I didn't have, like, even though you're on this collegiate team and there's like a lot of great coaches, they weren't breaking down the lifting the way you guys do, because, I was young and hopped up and just trying to perform. And so we'd go into the gym and they'd say, do this machine for whatever. They'd give us the protocol, but they weren't coming around and like correcting form or teaching anything about like, the breath. No, it wasn't discussed at all. It was 12 reps on this machine and then go over here and do, whatever. So that was kind of what I was exposed to in college. And then post-college, jumped into my career, kind of went more running. I did a lot of I did a couple half marathons and that kind of thing. So didn't come back to lifting till right before I got married. I decided I wanted to get in shape. Yeah. Owner of the gym that I used to work at was like, well, if you want to get in shape, lift weights. So I tried it out, and sure enough, like, I think I was lifting 3 times a week. Of course, I was like 25, 26 years old. And very quickly got into really good shape lifting. And then, post-wedding, changed jobs, got really career focused, did not a lot of self-care, not a lot of lifting, then got pregnant. And then, I don't know if I'm giving you my whole life story here, but yeah, long story short, I stepped away from the fitness world for a minute. Yeah. And then came back to it between my kids. I was really, like most people, wanting to get that fitness back in my life. Joined a group, like a boot camp, and did a lot of lifting. But I would say, again, not the education. And I just tore up my knees through this process. And I eventually hurt so bad I got an MRI, and sure enough, that, my cartilage is pretty depleted, and that's why I'm suffering so much pain. And so I was trying, jumped into like Orange Theory, tons of working out, but not really seeing the same progress in my fitness returning. Yeah. So that's where, Terry started. Terry is our amazing nanny. She's a second mom. Yeah. She's a second mom to me, to be honest. Like, I hang out with her probably more than my mom, because we're always together, and she loves my children, like her grandchildren. So, and she just kept going on and on about her fitness journey with you, Sean. Yeah. And so yeah, I was like, well, I got to try it.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
And I
Now
think
I'm with you.
it's been so cool. I think one thing that, again, why I thought your story was so cool and important is I think people have so many different relationships with lifting over the course of their life. And what happens at times, I think, is one way is prescribed, it works for a while, and then situations change. And there's, to your point, there's not always the nuance in the industry at large or in life at large to say, like, things have changed, so why would I not change my approach to the things that I'm doing? And I think that's such a common theme for a lot of the people that we work with, where, like, not knocking Orange Theory, like, that's good for a certain type of person at a certain point in their life. And then all of a sudden it just becomes a reevaluation of, like, what are the things that matter? What are the priorities? And how can I shift my training around that? And, I remember when you first came in, like, the knees and the squatting thing was like a major impediment. And it felt, not to put words in your mouth, but what I got the sense of was kind of something that felt like it was unable to be conquered. Like, it was like, I'm not going to squat to depth again, and then shout out to Jess, squatted pretty dang heavy on a back squat. But I think that just came from two things. One, just having the, like, courage to say, like, I'm not going to give up this fundamental piece of myself that's been with me my whole life. And two, just getting, lovingly just nerdy into the technique and the form. And, for Matt and I, it's, an angel gets his wings every time somebody talks about breath when they don't have to, like, a coach gets his wings, So I think, like, just from an outside perspective in the last 6 months, just seeing you come to terms with, like, what you can do and how to pour so much into that opportunity, as opposed to seeing it as a deficit, is, like, the single greatest thing that we really hope all clients get to. And I think that was one of the reasons I just felt people could benefit so much from hearing what you've done.
Oh, no, I think I was feeling defeated. I was doing these high intensity workouts, 4 or 5 times a week, and really still suffering a lot of knee pain, waking up in the middle of the night, stuff like that. And not losing weight, like, kind of plateauing, just being actually kind of the opposite, like, super hungry, to the point where, like, I was just out of whack. And my knee, I don't think it's ever going to be 100%, but it's a way less pain than I had before. And I don't know how to explain that, because, you can't regrow cartilage as far as I understand from the medical world, but I think you can strengthen all the things around it, and it really has allowed me to do, to bend it further, to sleep without waking up with knee pain. So it's been notable. I know sometimes, like, temperature can make a difference too. So, like, the heat of the summer, I think, is helpful. I think it hurts more in the winter, but I think I'm feeling really strong. I'm encouraged by the progress I've made with you guys. So thank you.
2 little cheeky PRs this week. Nothing to shake a head at,
No, that was fun.
Yeah, good.
I know. And I mean, athlete competition, you guys that set goals for me. I'm like, it's fun. It's fun to go after.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of to that point, just because now a big part of our conversation for the last 6 months has been resolving these stuff, and obviously just, like, learning all the techniques. And I think you've done that in an amazing way. And that's obviously, as you just said. And I think we've talked about the various intermediate strength standards, and that being a very usable and clear goal to strive for. And I think having gone from, like, okay, I don't really know where I am in this world of lifting and trying to re-find your footing and getting all this benefit, and now looking ahead, I'd just be curious to hear your thoughts about what the next stage might look like now that you have the context for everything.
I would love to hit those intermediate strength metrics. I think I'm close. Yeah. So, again, it's nice to have the tangible goal for me. It gives me something to offer. But yeah, the technique, you guys, again, like, I've done a ton of athletics and lifting over the years, but never has it been broken down. Even when I had the one-on-one training before my wedding, which was, like, very, I was lifting really heavy, and he was correcting things on the spot, but he wasn't teaching me kind of how to carry it forward on my own, I guess. Is the kind of the difference, like, I can, I've learned a lot, and I think it's allowing me to lift more. So that's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love having these chats, because y'all are often smarter than us in some ways.
Yeah.
What you just said about carrying it forward for yourself, and being, no matter what the implement or skill, whether it's new or something you've close to mastered, being able to have ownership over that, I think has really been our intent with opening Compass and trying to, like we always say, is like our goal is that you don't need us anymore, and you just you don't want to have to learn the programming, so you hang out and like want to keep doing that. And I guess, is there any, having been a competitive athlete before, is there any inclination of wanting to get back into some sort of competitive thing, or maybe?
I that helps really light a fire for me when I do have kind of those goals in competition. I know my sister is really jumped into a team, like a running team, and you can see that fire. At least she has these goals. She's on Strava. She's like, she's like living and breathing it. And so I'm kind of the same way, like, if I don't know how lifting translates into a team atmosphere that same way as those running teams and stuff, but I'm always open to it. Time is obviously the tricky part, but as these seasons continue to evolve, I know my 3-year-old will be full-time here pretty soon, in preschool full-time. I mean, it's still like 30, but
preschool.
Preschool, but I mean, definitely I love all of that. I've always enjoyed working out, suffering a little bit, if you will, like to reach a goal. So probably in my future.
That's awesome. Great to hear.
Good to hear. Well, I think being respectful of the kiddos and your time, the last question that I just love to end these with, is just, if you were to say something in reflection to the work that you've done and the progress that you've really worked hard, independent of us, just to show up and be consistent with this whole process and make sacrifices, and in a real sense of the word of your time, what would you maybe say to that person who's like on the fence, or maybe just considering, as a newer mom or someone in their career or in similar circumstance, of just getting back and pouring that investment into themselves again?
Yeah, I mean, movement is medicine. That's a kind of something I hear you guys say a lot, and it's true. And I've really felt the difference with the movement, with the intentional movement, with the education behind it. Your warm-ups are very intentional to build up to the movement. Like I said, I feel like I went sideways because Orange Theory, you warm up for 3 minutes, and then you grab a weight and you start doing lateral lunges and squats, and it was not working for my I can't do that kind of thing without anyone, without a lot of pain. So I would say, I mean, and again, having such a background, it's easy to be like, oh, I know how to lift weights, or I don't have to do all this stuff, but I've never had it broken down for me the way you guys do. And it's really been helpful. Yeah. So
Jess, that was a perfect button. And thank you so much for your kind words. And it's just, it's been an honor to coach you, honestly, from both of us. It's really fun. You bring such a fantastic energy, not only with the competitiveness of rising the kind of levels of everybody else in the class, but also us as coaches. So,
and the constant curiosity you have about the development of the skill and it being a practice rather than just a workout. And I think I remember sort of in the first 3 months or so when we were squatting, when that sort of shifted, and how many more questions came out of that to really refine and get better. And then the curiosity, not only external with us to answer questions, but also internal to the work that you were doing, and how every session it just goes up and up and up because of that. It's really lovely to see.
Yeah, no, I like it. If anything, it becomes an obsession, an addiction, whatever you want to say. And it's like, I want more, right? I'm always like, wait, when are you guys going to have the 9 a.m. on Friday? Come on. I am really enjoying it, and I do want more. So I think that's a good sign.
You'll continue to come into your own Terryhood and start to pull people into that 9 a.m. and then it'll be there,
I'm working on it. Come on. But
cool. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff. This has been wonderful, and enjoy. Have a restful weekend as much as you possibly can. And we're excited to get back to it on Monday.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
See you Monday.
See you Monday.
Bye. Bye. Wonderful.
She's great. Wow. 50.
Yeah, she was one we forgot, but that's she is another.